The experience of Dragon's Dogma 2 from the very first minutes is reminiscent of the journey we experienced with Itsuno and his team about 13 years ago. Pristine but old ideas that passed the test years ago, but they have not necessarily been implemented in the best way until today and before. Dragon's Dogma 2 is another opportunity for the Devil May Cry development team to present their underappreciated ideas with a new look and flawless execution. An experience that, if it involves you, you will have at least 100 hours of fun and adventure ahead. Follow 24 Theories review of Dragon's Dogma 2. The increasing popularity of Metroidvania, the formation of the soul-like subgenre, and of course the success of the early days of Dragon's Dogma 2 may not seem to have anything to do with each other, but in the background everyone is shouting the same thing. There's an audience out there that doesn't like a game developer taking their hand and dictating every mechanic, puzzle, conflict, etc. in order to enjoy the travel experience, or rather your travels in Dragon's Dogma 2. It is necessary to enjoy such games before anything else. Titles that don't grab the audience's hand and simply by introducing the basic mechanics put you in front of a huge number of possibilities. You might say to yourself that we have seen these features before in any open-world game that has a relatively good design system, a set of events that may be found in the game environment, and the gamer can influence them with the mechanics at his disposal. Let's put the world version of the Monster Hunter series and the more industrialized version of Far Cry as a first-class example with high depth. Dragon's Dogma 2 may be comparable to other titles in many elements, but it has a diamond in its heart that you will not find in any other work. A kind of freedom of action and a sense of liberation that today has less courage to give to the audience. The creators of Dragon's Dogma 2 see its events in a parallel world with the first version. This justification has made some of the encounters and relationships in the game world feel like the reincarnation of the first game. Even Capcom uses the word Dragon's Dogma for the opening chapter, and we don't see the number 2 anywhere in the game. However, despite the interesting approach of the developers to the story and the game world, everything not only does not smell of repetition, but gives the audience the feeling of a unique evolution compared to its previous version. For a title that has made its character creation and customization available to gamers for free before the release, Dragon's Dogma 2 has a bigger surprise. The appearance of your character on his abilities such as running, fighting, attack distance, etc. will also be effective. Like the previous game, this version tells the story of Arisen and his journey to reclaim his land. Listening this sentence for those who have experienced the first game probably means a normal and not very engaging story. The DD2 title, however, makes sure that there are enough interesting side characters and of course the plot to keep you going. This happens thanks to the more dynamic choices and of course the path of each mission gets a new life. Paying attention to elements such as time, location, and even the time of each mission are among the things that the game does not warn you about. Actually, better to say, Dragon's Dogma 2 does not warn about anything. Everything is in front of you in the first hours and the mechanics are introduced one after the other. The most key idea that separates Dragon's Dogma 2 and this franchise as a whole from other similar titles is the creation of a form of shared world experience through pawns. The game is a completely single-player experience, but at the beginning of the game, the gamer is asked to create a companion or pawn. The creation of pawn is just like the main character, and even the classes are similar. The magical moment of the Dragon's Dogma 2 experience is exactly this interaction with the pawn system. In addition to your main pawn, you can have 2 other accompanying characters. These pawns can be made by the creators of the game or a pawn made by your friends. No difference. Each trip with different pawns has a different color and smell, and each one is a part of this different experience. Some have the ability to accompany you in story missions and others are capable fighters. Some can speak a special language and some may carry a dangerous disease. These events and variety of actions also exist for your pawn. Just when you are playing, other gamers can also recruit your pawn. Your pawn will share his memories with other gamers when he returns, and of course, he will become more mature with each trip. We talked about the conflict of systems and the magic that separates Dragon's Dogma 2 from similar works. Let's take a closer look at the loop that the gamer experiences on each trip in the form of one of my trips. After getting the main mission and just when I was fighting an ogre, the presence of a griffin completely changed the course of the fight. The combination of the presence of witches in my pawn team and the help of their ability to increase health is definitely one of my winning cards in this fight. After several grueling minutes, I am optimistic that the cart I see in the distance on the road is going to make the journey easier. I am sorry that I will be forced to camp in the middle of the road with my companions in the middle of the night with attacks on the road, and we will experience the continuation of the journey tomorrow morning. Each of these encounters, events, and interactions are unique, and the game is a living ecosystem of monsters, events, and actions. Although in the early hours of this loop, it ends with a few simple enemy groups, but if you survive the first 20 hours and learn the mechanics well, your adventures are just beginning. The artificial intelligence of pawns has its own errors, and their controllability is not always in the best conditions, but Dragon's Dogma 2 is a work that centers a large part of its experience around this mechanic, stands out from its tests. The game world is dynamic, your companions have a dynamic behavior, and these two together make you never feel that this is a one-person experience without the presence of other gamers. Today, fewer publishers and developers have the courage to give wings to such different ideas, and we should be grateful to Capcom and the game development team for this. Although Capcom acted as a publisher in the field of in-app payment, and also not putting the game's restart mode against its tasteful developer philosophy. However, Dragon's Dogma 2 is so fun and its world is so full of action that it's easy to forget the sidelines and enjoy the current work. The re-graphic engine appears successful in the difficult path of creating an open-world work, that too with a very large scope. A big disappointment for console gamers though will be the performance of the game on these platforms. It seems that with a little more time, the developers could have made the game a more balanced frame rate, at least in environments like cities and places with a lot of NPCs. If you experience the game on powerful personal computers, do not worry. But if you have a home console or your PC is not very powerful, there will probably be moments in the game where you will be disappointed. Unlike the gameplay and the process of exploring the environment, which will never disappoint you, Dragon's Dogma 2 executes the first-class and beloved ideas in a better and more complete way, and takes a lot of risks along the way. Risks that end up working in favor of the game, making it one of the most special action role-playing games of the last few years and one of the best of this year so far. To summarize that, a little patience. This is my only answer to gamers who love action RPGs but feel like they can't get comfortable with Dragon's Dogma 2 and its underwhelming world. If you like action role-playing games and of course you are looking for tens of hours of unique experience in this genre, don't miss Dragon's Dogma 2. You won't find this experience, world, and mechanics combined like this anywhere else. Don't feel like getting involved with a deep and detailed world. Don't you like to be left alone in a big map in between dozens of different missions? Are you not interested in fighting big monsters and experiencing the conflicts of their ecosystems? If the answer to these questions is no, you can definitely spend your $70 on another game. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to channel to support me. Leave comment down below with your thoughts. As always, until next time, take it easy.